develop your skills, role play, practice, drill, buy training courses, buy books, go to YouTube, listen to surround yourself with as much data and information as you can, then actually use it. And you'll find really quickly that more often than not, knowing what to do and knowing what to do next.
Welcome to Inspired by Success, the podcast where I deep dive into the mindset of successful entrepreneurs, CEOs, and thought leaders. Get ready to be inspired and gain valuable insights to unlock your true potential.
Transform your financial future with this episode sponsored by KE Financial Services.
Almost 20 years of sales experience and a track record of launching successful businesses. He's on a mission to help sales professionals increase their income with practical sales strategies. Jordan's journey from a top 1% earner in the US to a respected sales trainer is driven by his passion for sharing effective sales methods that empower anyone to succeed in sales. We all know sales is the lifeblood in any business, and it's crucial in being successful and growing. So I'm super passionate about sales, and I'm super excited to have Jordan on the show today. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Jordan.
Hey, Linda, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for your time. Different time zones. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Technology makes the world go round, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to hang out with you and talk about some sales and business.
Awesome. Cool. Let's start. So what pivotal moments from your early years influenced the person you are today?
Pivotal moments in my life that influenced who I am today. There's probably a whole lot, but I suppose the long and the short of it would be getting fired from Chili's. That's kind of like a chain restaurant here. There's thousands of them everywhere. I got a job there when I was kind of in high school, getting out of high school. And I got fired from Chili's. And
for what? What did you do?
I just didn't show up to work for like 3 days in a row. They should have fired me the first time, but I just didn't show up. I was young. I was irresponsible. And I just realized I'm not going to make any money doing that. I've always wanted to have success, which is why I pursued music. And I had a band and that was fun. And then ultimately realized that wasn't really going to pay the bills or fund the lifestyle I wanted. So ultimately, those two things, just kind of failing at all the main things that I wanted to do. There was first soccer playing, and then I wanted to have a band. And then, I waited tables for a little while until I got fired. And I just realized, sales is going to be my outlet to make money. And it's kind of turned into a long-term career.
Yeah, exactly. With 19 years of sales experience. So what actually led you to choose that career?
Well, my father, he'd always done very well for himself. I wouldn't say that we grew up rich by any means, but upper middle class. We were always comfortable because he was a sales guy and did really well. And so I kind of just looked at him and I was like, well, if he can make several $100,000 a year in sales, then maybe I'll take a shake at it. And ultimately, that's kind of what influenced me to get into sales. Plus the fact that I don't genuinely have any other real skills. I dropped out of college and I didn't want to pursue, a communications degree just to rack up more debt. I just wanted to make some money. And so that's how I got into it.
How did you start your own sales academy?
So over the course of 15, 16 years of being a salesperson, I was able to put myself in the top 1% of income earners here in the States, making about $500,000 a year at the age of 29 years old, which is a pretty decent feat. And, my lifestyle changed. I bought a new Porsche 911 and moved into a yacht club, and I was on Instagram. And so occasionally people would see dude, who's this dude driving a brand new Porsche and living at a yacht? So they would start asking me questions and, DMing me or whatever and say, hey man, I just was in a deal and they said they needed to talk to their wife. What would you say? And I would kind of give them some advice, and they'd come back a few days later and be like, oh man, I closed a $12,000 deal. And I realized, well, okay, my information is good. I could probably monetize this. But two, and the most important piece for me is I find a lot of fulfillment in those types of messages. People getting back to me saying that, they earned more money and because of that, they were able to take a vacation with their spouse or whatever they end up using that money for. But I find a lot of personal fulfillment out of actually helping people achieve some of their goals.
That's lovely because they say that money can't buy happiness, but it does buy you a lot of experiences that can make you happy. So
hey, look, I've been unhappy a couple of times in my life, and I would much rather be unhappy with some money and some freedom and some options than be unhappy and not have freedom and options. So exactly. I do believe that money buys happiness.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, the freedom that it gives you. So you mentioned before that like anyone can be a salesman, and regardless of any industry, what qualities would make someone an effective salesperson? How can they develop these skills? Touching on when you said people DM'd you, can you share some of those tips?
Yeah, I think everybody is a salesperson. Everybody's trying to share their beliefs, their opinions. So
Mm,
there's that bullet point. But as far as like earning an income, being a salesperson, I do think that everybody has an opportunity to become that type of person. But as far as just kind of becoming an average person in sales, somebody that can make an income being a salesperson, I think the things that you're looking for is you're looking for somebody that's personable. You're looking for somebody that's friendly, somebody that's energetic. I don't really subscribe to the belief that you have to be this outgoing, say hi to everybody type of person. But I do believe that you have to kind of train yourself to be able to say hi to other people, obviously, because that's who you're selling to. As far as the traits separating kind of your average salesperson, somebody that can make an income, and somebody that's going to crush sales and become a high income earner and be a great salesperson, what you're really looking for is you're looking for a specific chapter of their life where they've had a significant setback or realization that they are ready to leave behind all the average behaviors and disciplines and things that they've done to attain something greater. I didn't always make a lot of money in sales. I spent the majority of my career making $40,000, $50,000 a year here in America, which again, you're surviving, but barely.
mm.
And at one point in my life in 2013, about 10 years ago, almost literally to this day, I had kind of my come to Jesus moment with myself where I was wondering, like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I don't really have a lot of friends. None of the relationships I had really worked out. And like, I was probably about 25, 26 at the time. And I made this, I had a very, very difficult year in 2013. And it forced me to either say, I'm going to succumb to this life of just mediocrity, or I'm going to rise to the occasion and I'm going to devote myself to personal development, improvement, and take myself to where I want to go. And the common denominator that I've seen in a lot of top strong performers, particularly in sales, are that they've all had challenges, adversity, setbacks, and just things that have had them confront, am I going to continue on this way, or am I going to shift my trajectory in life? And so that would be my long answer for that question.
Awesome. Yeah, because I think resilience plays a huge part in sales, and being able to cope with rejection is another thing as well. I think
Yes.
one thing that I always hear, like I always get these sales calls from people that are selling solar, and I think the people who are hiring these Indian call centers, they should get your training because it's just the same old boring thing, and I'm always hanging up on them because they need to learn some different sales strategies. But yeah, have you got
I
any
agree.
tips for like they probably got a great product, but because it's the same boring sales call, I just feel like it's exactly the same, so I hang up on them and I just don't have time. But do you have any tips for people who have to do cold calling? How can they succeed?
Yeah, I think there's a long list of little tips, but I would say first and foremost, the approach on the call. You have to understand that you're literally interrupting somebody's day. They
Mm.
definitely don't want to talk to you. And so you're obviously going to hear not interested, don't have time, go kill yourself. I've heard a lot in the several 100,000 cold calls that I've made. But here's the point. You said solar as an example.
I
So
always get the solo calls.
yeah. So instead of saying, hey, Linda, it's Jordan calling from Stupar Solar. Are you interested in, saving some money on your utility bill and going solar? The thing that all of you can do is I want to challenge you guys listening to this call, if you make cold calls, is take a look at what you sell and think about the two main things or problems that you could solve. For instance, if I was cold calling with solar, I would knock on your door, I would call you and I would say, hey, Linda, it's Jordan from Stupar Solar. I understand that you don't really have a lot of time and you're probably not interested. I'm calling on the off chance that you either have attention on completely going green, taking care of the planet, doing something nice for Mother Nature, or if you have a little bit more attention right now on just claiming your own energy independence and taking charge of how much money you pay on a monthly basis for your energy. Which one are you most interested in?
Wow, that's like natural flow. You've
So
acknowledged that they don't have time. I like that straight away. Acknowledge that and given that to them, and then you've given them the two choices. That flowed so beautifully.
yes, and it truly does work with every single product. Instead of another one that people hate being called on is, life insurance. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Do you have life insurance? It's like, of course I don't want to talk to you about life insurance. Click.
Yeah.
But you can totally go around the part of your brain where it's like, I'm just going to shut you off by saying, hey, Linda, it's Jordan over here from Stupar's Insurance Co. Calling on the off chance that you have some attention on either one, your current financial condition, paying off debt, making sure you have cash flow and that bills are paid, or if you have more attention on planning for the future. Either way that you answer that question, I could say, great, that's exactly what we do and exactly why I'm calling you today. And I would continue on with my call. That's what I like to call a pointed question, where you put out two close-ended options. Would you like to go solar to be good to planet Earth, or are you more selfish? You just want to save more money on your utility bills. You have attention on your current finances or planning for the future. Either way that your subject answers that question, you get to say, great, that's exactly what we do and specifically why I called, ... and move on with your call.
That seems like a psychology to it too.
There's a little bit in there for sure that I'm trying not to get too in depth so that, I don't lose anybody that's listening in or watching this.
I think also energy is a crucial as well, because when I was in sales, and I've done the cold calling years ago as well, there'd be days when you're just miserable and whatnot, and you'd still have to kind of like give the energy, or else people can feel it on the phone. And I saw a huge difference when I didn't care much, and then I called a CEO once and I was just all happy, fluffy. And I don't know, I was really positive and upbeat, and he answered and he ran with it. And I was shocked. But then I realized the reason why I was so successful with it is because the positivity and no expectations. But I think energy really helps. Can you discuss anything about that? And what happens if somebody's feeling really flat and had a shit day, something happened, and then like, how do they go about with the energy and trying to do well on the sales call despite having a setback?
How do you turn a shit day into a non-shit day?
I guess
something like that.
Yeah,
I totally get what you mean. And look, 99% of the time that I've ever knocked on a door, made a cold call, and done any sales related activity, I hate it. It's not something that I want to do. I'd much rather literally do anything other than cold call a CEO. And so if you're feeling flat, you're feeling lethargic, you're feeling like you don't really want to make that next dial, first and foremost, just be an actor. Like if there was a camera on you and like lights and like they did your makeup and you were like in a scene, like, would you sound like an idiot making a phone? Hey, Linda, it's Jordan over here. Or would you maybe put on an act? Like a bit of what you're getting from me right now, I'm acting. I'm just bringing a little bit more energy than I really feel like giving. I'm bringing a little bit more engagement out of this than I feel like doing because it's the end of my day and I'm a little bit, I'm just acting. I'm putting on the show. I'm doing what I need to do. And this is the exact same thing that I do, on calls. It's like, I don't want to call this person, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do a damn good job and I'm going to act excited. I'm going to act with some enthusiasm. Because at the end of the day, are you somebody that somebody actually wants to talk to? That's what happens in those first couple of seconds. And then number two, little bonus thing, is you'll always get paid for every call that you make. Every single call that you make, whether you get hung up on, schedule an appointment, close a deal, you get cursed out, you're getting paid for that. Because take a look at whatever you earned last year, for instance, and then try to put a number on how many, cold calls you made or how many DMs you sent or whatever. And trust me, if you just do the math and you divide the amount of money you made by how many sales activities you did, it's going to spit out a number. And so it means that every single time you pick up the phone, you just made $4. In which case, now you just reroute the conversation in your head from, oh, I don't want to make another call, to, well, I'm going to make $4 if I make this call regardless of what happens. So I'm just going to pick up the phone and call. How many calls can I make in a day then? And once you switch that perspective, then it kind of opens up the ability to be excited about, doesn't matter what happens, this call is going to make me some money.
You might as well make some more money out of the call and make it worthwhile as well.
Yeah, and on top of that, people in sales need to have more fun. if you're cold calling for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, I've done it. I did it for years. And like, if I'm going to be there and I'm going to do that, I might as well have a good time with it. If I'm calling on a business and they say, press 1 for service, press 2 for parts, press 3 for this, this call be recorded for quality. It's like, I'll be talking to them on the recording and saying like, y'all better record this damn call. It's going to be the best call that you guys ever get into that business. And I sit there and I imagine my guy, John, just sitting by the phone, just waiting for Jordan to call and just have fun and like be high energy and just pretend to have energy.
Yeah. It sounds like you got a lot of confidence too. And I know that confidence plays a huge role in sales. How can people build their confidence and maintain that confidence, especially in competitive environments and in sales as well? Because, we're all like, sales is always competitive. So how can we build that confidence?
Yeah, I definitely didn't come out of the womb talking like this. In fact, when I was a child, my parents would have to drag me from my room just to meet like family, aunts and uncles that would come over to the house for Thanksgiving or whatever, because I was so shy. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't have a lot of confidence. But, once I, again, put a lot of time into my personal development, my communication skills, my sales approach, that's where things really started becoming more confident for me. And confidence isn't just something that you blindly stumble upon. It's a carefully plotted out course that you have to take to get to, because at the end of the day, confidence, it's just knowing what to do next and knowing that it's going to work. I have a lot of confidence in my GPS because, I type in an address and like, I know it's not going to take me to, China. It's going to take me back home. And so same thing with sales is develop your skills, role play, practice, drill, buy training courses, buy books, go to YouTube, listen to surround yourself with as much data and information as you can, then actually use it. And you'll find really quickly that more often than not, knowing what to do and knowing what to do next are two completely different things. And if you can get yourself from knowing what to do to knowing what to do next, despite any of the circumstances that pop up in the sales process, well, then that's where you get a lot of confidence.
Yeah, and I totally agree with the practice thing too. When I first started with this podcast, I read it with the Riverside and the video thing. I didn't like watching myself, but it's just over time, just ignored it, practiced, and just run with it, and the more practice I get, the more confidence I am behind camera. So it does take a little bit of time. Awesome.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. And in terms of successes, we often face really big challenges. Can you share one of the challenges that you've had to, especially with sales, there's also a lot of challenges, but have you had any significant challenges that you've had to overcome, and how did you deal with it?
Yeah. So, just in sales, sales is just one big, long string of challenges. You have dry spells. You have times where it doesn't matter how hard you work. Nobody's buying your product for a week or a month or even a quarter or even a year. I've been sued. I've lost all my friends. I've lost money. I've gone through a divorce. I've had a lot of personal things happen. How do you sell during that? It's all about understanding that being present has nothing to do with even what's presently going on. That's a fact. Has nothing to do with the past. It has very little to do with the near future. I learned this lesson back when I was knocking doors in Dallas, Texas. It was 110 degrees outside. That's Fahrenheit. I don't know what that is in Celsius around the world or whatever, but really hot. And I was in a fight with my girlfriend at the time where it was one of those epic fights where you don't really want to talk to anybody or do anything. You just want to sit there and be mad. Mm-hmm. And I had rent that I needed to pay. And so I had to force myself out of the car to go knock doors and sweat and be hot. And it was at that moment when I opened the door that me talking to the next homeowner that I wanted to sell something to literally had nothing to do with the way that I felt. And it sure as hell had nothing to do with my girlfriend at the time either. And so if I could separate that, what I was feeling and what I wanted to do, if I could separate that and turn it into, we'll deal with this later, now I have a job to do and I can act, well, then that helped me get through a lot of challenges, because we all have challenges. We have ups and downs. We have personal lives. We have relationships. We have kids. I just got one of those last year. How do you sell stuff when you're thinking about your baby or whatever? And thank you, by the way.
Asleep as well when your brain's not working properly.
Right. What do you do? Well, you put all that stuff on hold, you get your shit together, and you go sell.
You just do it.
You
Gotta
just
do
do it.
Yep. Okay. Well,
Good question,
talking about
Stella.
rejection. Oh, thank you. I've got them written down. So, sales often comes with rejection, and we mentioned about resilience as well. How do you guide sales professionals in bouncing back and staying motivated? Like you mentioned, all the challenges you had, but for me, when I had rejections, I always just it was quantities, but that one positive one always helped me bounce back. Have you got any tips to guide other sales professionals in bouncing back?
Yeah, it goes a little bit back to what I was mentioning on, you're always going to get paid for the work that you put in, always. So you're always going to get rejected, just like count those rejections as part of what it is that you're getting to. I get excited. The more rejection I experience for the longer the period of the time, the more excited I get about doing my job, no matter how many more times I'm going to get rejected, because I know that the system is going to pay me out. I know that I'm going to find somebody out there that's like, yeah, dude, what are you selling? Yeah, here's my credit card number. Good job. Get out of here. I know I'll go find that. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is, look, rejection has literally nothing to do with anything. It's literally a part of the process, and it's something that you can embrace. And if you can get excited about the rejections, well, then your job will be more fun. You'll have more confidence. And I think that people need to do a better job of removing themselves from the outcome. I've caught myself a billion times looking at, whatever, John Johnston, CEO. It's like, I don't want to call this guy. He might tell me no. Like, well, he's either going to say yes or he's going to say no. Just make the call and get it over with. You don't need to sit there and start overthinking and overanalyzing, like, what could happen. Like, he's either going to be a nice guy and be, in the market for your product or service, or have a timeline or whatever, or he's not. And there's really not a lot else that can happen in there. So you just gotta deal with it. And I think one other point worth mentioning is rejection hurts the most when we don't really have anything else working. If you lose a deal that you were counting on for your rent, and now you're going to miss rent because you got rejected, that's going to hurt a lot, because it was only for one thing that you were banking on. But if you had 100 of those opportunities, you'll almost be grateful that Linda decided to tell you no, because you've got 99 other Lindas out there ready to pay your bills and do business with you. So having a full pipeline and taking a lot more action than what you're probably thinking that you should take will definitely help bulletproof you to the pain of being rejected.
Exactly. And so in businesses, the way I see it, like I mentioned it before, that sales is crucial. It's the blood flow of the business. And even if your employees are in finance or customer service, or even like for me, my design, I've got a designer and a VA that does everything. She's my everything. Like, she's amazing. But you're in it together as a sales, because we need sales. And when it comes to customer service, when it comes to designing, you always have to think of the concept and the customer in mind. So how do you motivate a team, even if they're not in sales explicitly? How do you motivate them and get them to understand that being a part of the company, we're all in sales? How do you do that? Even if it's finance, I think it was Grant Cardone, like, I read one of his books and he just said, we're all in sales no matter what. You're selling yourself. And if you're going for a job interview, you're selling yourself regardless. So how do you motivate the team in terms of aligning with the same sales strategy, even if they're not in sales, indirect?
Yeah. I think, the best way of helping motivate anybody to do anything from a leadership role is to understand first and foremost that your job as a leader in that role is to understand where you're going or where you're taking the company. Also, you'll have to be good at explaining why you're going where you're going and why it's important to you. And then really great leaders are able to help sell their team on why they should join the leader in the pursuit of whatever this goal is, whether that's more money, more freedom, maybe that's more just maybe we're doing a good thing in the community, whatever it is. Good leaders will be able to sell a mass of people on why they should join that leader in the pursuit of that goal. And then finally, obviously, people will sooner or later encounter obstacles and setbacks, and they don't want to do the work tomorrow or whatever. And that's where it's very important to continuously sell that vision. Without a vision, a company is really, really useless. Everybody that comes into my organization, I sit them down on day one and I'm like, look, this is a job. We're going to help pay your bills. You're going to earn an income and your life is going to be fabulous. But first and foremost, before you, before me, before my favorite employee, before this person, is the mission. We are on a mission to make sales fun. We're on a mission to help 1 million salespeople make their first $100,000. We're on a mission to help 10,000 sales professionals become millionaires. And look, unless you're part of this mission, then there's the door. And that's my day one conversation with everybody, because I want to set the table that, cool, yeah, we're here to make money, and yeah, we can have a fun time and make jokes and, but like, we're on a mission, and that's what we're doing here.
Never forget that mission. That's a great mission to have too. So
Yeah.
Speaking of transitioning from a successful salesperson to the CEO of a multi-dollar sales training organization, that's quite an amazing feat, amazing journey. Could you share any insights into this transition and what motivated it?
Yeah. So I would say bullet point number one is when I was 27 years old, getting into my last sales job, I told myself that I would have $1 million cash in the bank by 30. And on my 30th birthday, I had like 400,000. I did good, but like I still failed. And I told myself that if I didn't have the $1 million, that I would quit my job and I'd go find another route to make $1 million in a year or whatever. So that was kind of the thing, is that I made a promise to myself. And although I was in the top 1% of income earners, buying new Porsches, blah, 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 it really hurt that I didn't fulfill my own goal to myself. And so that's kind of bullet point number one. Bullet point number two, I wasn't growing anymore in my last sales role. As dumb as this sounds and naive and childish, I was making $500,000 a year just on autopilot, going into the office, making calls, doing demos, following up with some people, getting contracts, making a bunch of money. And I know for sure that the vast majority of people out there would kill for a job where they could just walk in, half-ass it, make $500,000 a year. But I wasn't being challenged. I wasn't growing anymore. I wasn't really discovering anything new about myself. I wasn't really pushing myself to any further heights. And so jumping off the proverbial cliff of entrepreneurship and trying to build, a hang glider on the way down seemed like the best next challenge. And figuring that out and growing a multi-million-dollar a year business from scratch is definitely that type of challenge. If you are masochistic enough and you're naive and you're stupid and you're crazy, then that might be the career path for you as well.
Very inspiring. And now that you've reached the top 100%, the top 1% of income earners in the US, not many people can say that they've done that. So how did you, it took time, I'm guessing, and a lot of time and practice, but how do you feel, and how, to be able to, just because.
That's a great question.
Yeah, not many people can achieve that. And how, you mentioned that you bought cars and stuff. How does that make you feel?
Yeah. So just for reality, I started this particular business July 1st of 2020. So 3 years and some months ago. I had no customers. I had no product. I had no revenue. I had $800 in my bank account, and I had $117,000 worth of debt to my attorneys from a previous lawsuit. So a nice uphill battle for me. And at the time, I was engaged to my wife-to-be, and I was living in her house at the time. She's 10 years younger than me, far more successful, whatever. And I remember looking at her, and I said, Marion, I'm going to go open the company that I've always wanted to open, and this is what I'm going to do. She's like, really? And I said, look, in the next year, I'm going to be debt-free, and we'll have $250,000 in the bank. I'm sure of it. She looked at me like very crazy. And it was at that moment in time for myself where I was ready 100% to just let her go, walk out the door. You can keep the ring. Just, I'm going to go in this direction. I know I'm going in this direction, and I know I'll be successful in it as long as I can do it. And so she ended up sticking around. Good choice by her. And this is where I started doing the things that most people won't do. On day one, on July 2nd, I started waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning every single day. I worked from 3 o'clock in the morning till about 9 or 10 o'clock at night, straight through, every day for 18 months. In that 18-month period, I built a multi-million-dollar sales training company. I paid off the $117,000 worth of debt. I bought my wife and now my baby our own house that we built. We have $500,000 worth of cars. We have the ability to travel anywhere for any amount of time. We built an incredible life in a very short period of time. And I don't want to say that it's just, talent, or I know more about sales and so I can flip people on the phone better than anybody. The point is that a lot of people want a bigger life on a small work ethic. And for me, I wanted a big life, and I knew I was capable of a big life if I had the amount of time that I could allocate into building that life. And so if you're listening out there and you are trying to get from point A to point B, you have to take a look at, it's not about doing all of the things that you hear your favorite podcasters or gurus or coaches or trainers do. There's only so much of that in a day you can do. The thing that you're going to want to do is figure out, what do I need to take away from what I'm currently doing so that I can shift and reallocate those resources, that time, that money, that energy into something that's actually going to grow. A lot of you listening out there right now, you know damn well you spend too much time on Netflix. You spend too much time messing around in social media, doing the whole zombie scroll. You know it. And right now you're getting pissed off at me because I'm not wrong. You just know that you're wrong for your belief system, of the fact that you're trying to justify it because it's fun to do or it's entertaining. You don't deserve a break. Your goals don't give a single flying fuck about how you feel today or who talked bad to you on the phone. Nobody cares. You need to shut the hell up, and you need to wake up earlier than you're waking up right now. You need to stay awake longer. You got to burn that midnight oil, and you got to get after it. Because if you don't, I'm going to, and I'm going to eat your lunch. I'm going to drive your car. I'm going to buy your house, and I'm going to take your vacations for you. And that's not something that I would recommend you watch.
Okay, take it back. You set big goals, really big goals. And where do these goals come from? You just set these goals. Because I've written goals as well. But how do you achieve those goals? Are you working backwards in small steps like the usual way that people do it? And another question is the burnout. Like you said, 3 o'clock in the morning. If I did that every day for 18 months, because I have to fit in exercise, kids as well, I'd probably be burned out. So those are two questions that I have, the goals and the burnout.
I'll hit burnout real quick because it's a little bit of a shorter answer. I will be absolutely clear. I didn't have a baby at that time. So I knew, because I was engaged, I knew I was going to get married, and I knew that we were going to have kids sometime. So I just kind of made a commitment to myself, like, okay, I know damn well when I have a child and when I have a wife and I've got this whole family unit and I'm not like kind of single, in a relationship, whatever, I know I'm not going to be able to burn this hard like every single day. So I knew that my window was open, and like all windows do, all windows close. And so I optimized every single moment of my time to building my business and, putting attention on finances during that period. That helped avoid burnout because I knew that there was going to be kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, and that I won't always have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to make progress. That was just me starting the business and doing what I needed to do. Outside of that, I'm a big fan of traveling. Traveling absolutely in a very short period of time can help me relax, rekindle my creativity. Every 3 or 4 months, and I'm sure everybody listening is a little bit different, but every 3 or 4 months, I can't think of an idea if you put a gun to my head. You could offer me $1 billion for a stupid idea, and I will not be able to think of it. When that time comes, I cancel everything on my calendar for 3 or 4 days. I jump on a plane, and I'll go somewhere in the world with my wife, and I won't think about work. I'll just eat, and I'll drink, and I'll sleep, and I'll relax, and then by the time I come back, I am absolutely 100%. So that's my personal way of kind of avoiding burnout, is I just look at everything like 3 to 4 month long sprints, like go hard, and then, reward yourself with 3, 4, 5 days out of the country or on a beach or, whatever. So that's my personal way. It works great for me, and it might work great for you. I don't know. But on to the other side of your question of, What was that part again?
The
I got all
goals.
caught up in the burnout now.
The goals question.
The
So
goal
you set
setting.
yeah.
So goal setting is something that's extremely important. A lot of people get a lot of things wrong. So let's start here first and foremost. Is that a lot of people believe that if they had, say, a Lamborghini or $1 million or whatever, that then they could be happy, they could be fulfilled, they could love themselves, whatever. If I had a Lamborghini and I parked out in front of the restaurant, more girls would look at me and then I'd be happy by attracting lots of women. It's like kind of true, but that's not the way to get there. The way to get there, one, is to reverse engineer that whole thing from having something and then being something. You can be whoever you want to be right now in this moment of time. For the first 29 years of my life, I always wanted a Porsche 911. I had a poster of one ever since I was 4 years old in my basement when I grew up. Black on black Porsche 911. Always wanted one, couldn't figure out how to get one. I always thought if I had one, more girls would like me, I would be happier, I could go faster, I'd be more confident. And then I realized one day, all I have to do today is just be a Porsche 911 owner. Even though I can't afford one and I don't drive one, I'm just going to be one. Being that Porsche 911 owner allowed me to do the things that a Porsche 911 owner would do. So I asked myself, what would a Porsche 911 owner do? Well, probably waking up early in the morning, probably hitting the gym, probably eating healthy, probably getting to work way early, probably staying there pretty late, probably making a lot of sales calls, probably getting home at night and probably not watching Netflix, but reading books or going podcasts or whatever, developing themselves. And sure enough, after literally like 18 months back in the day of doing that, boom, I bought a Porsche 911 black on black right off the showroom floor. So that's bullet point number one, is that you guys have to realize what your goals are. That's the other bullet point number two, is that a lot of you guys, you have goals based on what you think is cool on Instagram and what's going to get you a bunch of likes. You need to ditch that mentality and you need to embrace what you want selfishly. Some people, they want a Ferrari. Why? Exactly. You don't want a Ferrari. You want some of the clout that comes along with it, or whatever attention comes along with parking your Ferrari out, whatever. What are your goals? Are they really yours? Because if they're not, you're sure not going to have the intrinsic motivation that you need to build the discipline that's required for you to go and attain those goals. And then bullet point number three on goal setting is a lot of people aren't specific. They don't really know what type of house they want to live in or what car they really want to drive or what they would do with $1 million if I gave it to them. A lot of the reasons why some people don't make as much money as they say they want to is because they have no real plan for it anyway. And so that's bullet point number three. And then bullet point number four is do some math. I just, in my private coaching group, my sales acceleration program, one of the very first things that we do inside this workbook is we do what I call the income action plan. And so I look at everybody in the Zoom call and I'm like, hey, what do y'all want to earn? I want to earn 100 grand. I want to earn $250,000. I want to earn 1.2 million, whatever. I'm like, great. That sounds awesome. How many, what's your average commission? Oh, well, it's this. Do some math. Divide the big number by the little number, and that'll spit out how many sales you need to make. Then from there, how many people do you need to talk to in order to get one sale? Is it 4? Is it 5? Is it 10? Cool. Now, how many appointments do you need to set in order to get in front of one person? Is it, 4? Is it 2? Like, what's your appointment show ratio? And then how many cold calls does it take to get one appointment? Then divide all of that up, and then you'll be left with, if I want to make X amount of dollars this year, all I have to do Monday through Friday when I sit down at my desk and open up my CRM and do my sales stuff, all I've got to do is make 186 phone calls Monday through Friday. I can take the weekends off. I can take holidays off. It's like, okay, that makes it simple. And, with a small margin of error built in, you're probably going to hit those income goals. And from there, having a plan for what to do with the money is very important so that you don't just go blow it like a lot of salespeople do. And you can literally create wealth. Like, I'm a dumbass. I'm just a guy from Wisconsin, that just has a lot of work ethic and decided to get really good at my approach with sales. And I take advice from $100 million Jordan Stupar. That's why, I'm trying to set up my family for massive success versus just enjoying some of the fruits of my labor right now. So at the end of the day, just get clear on what you want, get very specific about it, understand that you're going to have to sacrifice a lot of things for it, and then do the work.
Exactly. I totally agree with you. Do you also have any mentors, inspirational books that you've read or podcasts that you follow that you can share as well?
Yeah. So favorite books. People always ask this question. I have such a hard time. I would say my favorite book of all time. I've probably done it 12, maybe 13 times by now. It is called Unscripted, The Pursuit of Life, Love, and Entrepreneurship. And it's by a guy named M.J. DeMarco.
I love him. He's a
Yep.
best author.
I saw your eyes get wide when I said unscripted, and I was like, oh my gosh, we just became best friends. Highly recommend that book. Also a huge fan of, 48 Laws of Power, some of those classics, Robert Greene type stuff. I love all that stuff because it kind of helps put together that psychological approach that we have to winning and to life. And again, another one of my favorite books as well is Relentless by Tim S. Grover. I've been through that one at least 15 times. He also has another book called Winning. Absolutely love that book. As far as podcasts are concerned, I don't really listen to a lot of them because I'm constantly busy doing sales stuff, which I can't listen to everything. So I don't really have a great podcast that I listen to for, success. And then coaches and mentors, I spend probably about $60,000, $70,000 a year right now on my own coaches, my own mentors. There's some incredible entrepreneur groups out there, and there's a lot of great people out there that can help give you the information that you need so that you can learn from their mistakes and you can have success a bit faster. And so, regardless of how much money anybody listening has or whatever, is start getting comfortable with the idea of taking as much of it as you can and giving it to somebody that can help you understand how to move the needle in your life and get better. Every single dollar I put into my own personal development, I get like 100 back. So I'm constantly just trying to find more coaches, mentors. I don't need everything that you have to offer. I just looking for that one thing that I can go and implement and have it make a difference.
I've noticed that the more that the people that I listen to on podcasts or YouTube as well, they always talk about investing in themselves and spending that money on mentors as well, because it's just learning from their mistakes and getting those crucial little tips that can help you go above and beyond as well. So
yes.
In terms of beyond sales, what principles of value guides your personal and professional life, and how do they contribute to your success?
Great question. So just me as a person, I'm pretty open about the fact that I want to be successful. I want to make money. I obviously have my own personal selfish things of, the cars that I want to drive, all that stuff. We all do. Also, getting married, I was like, okay, I got somebody I need to provide for. As a man, I took that very seriously. Then, of course, we had a baby, and now it's like, oh, should probably take care of this thing too. My family, they're getting a little bit older now. I'm looking at that and I'm like, yeah, I should probably work hard to take care of them. And so a lot of the responsibilities on my shoulders of being a high producer, of being an entrepreneur in my family, I take a look at all of this, and I think that a lot of entrepreneurs can get stuck in the, holy shit, whatever happened to my goals? Now I'm just feeding my family and paying rent and paying my employees. What about me? And you start ending up believing and living in a world of or, where it's like, I can take care of my goals and my family and make money for me, or I can take care of my family. And we start limiting all the abundance that we really have access to. And so the thing that really drives me is remaining unapologetically ambitious with my own personal goals. I want a private racetrack in my backyard and a lake with a boat and an airplane and a 17,000 square foot house on it. And that's my HQ. I want a bunch of other houses and cars and experiences and stuff. And that's just me. I'm not taking into account what my wife wants or where I'm sending my daughter for school or anything. But I'm going to go do those things for me, and I'm going to take care of my family and make sure I check all of their boxes as well. And so, look, it's going to be hard enough to fulfill all my goals personally. Add on top of that the responsibility of taking care of other people, the community, my family, everybody else, my clients, my employees, everybody. I'm bought into I'm going to work every day. Like I'm going to put in that work. I'm going to do what I need to do, and I'm going to get there. And so I'm really bought into all that. And then also I just find it like a lot of fun to just, the drawbacks are fun because you get to fix something. And when it's fixed, it's awesome. And then when things get fixed and it's awesome, it's awesomer because you don't have to fix anything. And it's just a lot of fun to have measures of success and start seeing some of the things that you want manifest themselves in your life where, it's not only just cool for you, it's like, it's cool for your daughter to experience and your wife. And it's cool to be that person in the family and the community that everyone's kind of looking at, like kind of doubting. And then they bank on you being the person that's going to follow through with it anyway, so you can take care of them. And, it's a bit of responsibility, but I find a lot of entertainment through it.
It's very, very inspiring. And like you've got a growth mindset, you're very driven, you're hungry, and it's really, really incredible to hear that. So we are running out of time. So I wanted to ask you finally, where can people find you and follow you?
If you enjoyed any of this, got some value, you can find me pretty much anywhere at Jordan Stupar. I'm most active on, Instagram, Facebook. YouTube is going to start popping off a little bit more. But you can go there, or if you're looking for something a little bit more formal to find out some of the products, services, things that I can do to maybe help you grow your sales, or I don't know, give you a dose of motivation when you might need some, is you can always go to jordanstupar.com as well. And any one of those places is a good place to go and find me.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks, Linda.